In this question, you have to find the values of k if the graphs of the curves with equations y equals kx squared minus 2x plus k and y equals minus 3x squared plus kx plus 1 intersect at 2 points. So these equations represent parabolas. This one's upright because of the minus 3, and this one will be upright or upside down depending on whether k is positive or negative. This k moves this graph up and down. This k here moves this graph sideways. So depending on what k is equal to, the two graphs will either intersect or not intersect. And you've got to figure out the values of k for which they intersect at 2 points. So the first step is to let these two equations equal each other, and from there figure out k. And that's pretty much always what you do when you're told that graphs intersect. You're going to let the equations equal each other. So that's the first step. So kx squared minus 2x plus k is equal to the other equation minus 3x squared plus kx plus 1. Then you have to get out all of this on this side. So kx squared plus 3x squared, then minus 2x minus kx, and then plus k minus 1 is equal to 0. And from there, what you want to do is go x squared and just take out the common factor in those two terms of x squared, and you have k plus 3 in the bracket. And then take out minus x from these two terms, and then you get 2 plus k. And then the last term is k minus 1. And to find the values of k that will give this equation two solutions, what you really need to do is figure out what the discriminant is, because for 2 points of intersection, i.e. two solutions, which would mean two solutions to this equation, the discriminant delta has to be positive or more than 0. So the first step is to work out the discriminant. So writing down the values of a, b, and c, so a equals k plus 3, b equals minus bracket 2 plus k, and c equals k minus 1. And then working out the discriminant, so first of all just letting it equal b squared minus 4ac, and then subbing in the values. So when you square all of that, that minus squared will become a positive, so you can just square that. I'll put the step in for you and then show you. So it's really that in a big bracket squared minus 4 times a, which is k plus 3, and then bracket k minus 1. So again, that minus squared becomes a positive, and then squaring this, you get k squared plus 2 times that term, which gives you 4k, and then plus 2 squared, which is 4, and then minus 4 bracket, and then expanding these two, you get k squared plus 3k minus k, and then minus 3, and then expanding that last bracket, so k squared plus 4k plus 4, and then minus 4k squared. Now this is 2k times by minus 4 is minus 8k, and then minus 3 times minus 4 is positive 12. So then delta is equal to, so k squared minus 4k squared is minus 3k squared, then 4k minus 8k is minus 4k, and then the last two things, 4 plus 12 is 16. To figure out the values of k for which delta is greater than 0, you now have another quadratic. So, and it's upside down because of this minus 3. So you've really got something like this. And the other thing about this equation, it's got a y-intercept or a delta-intercept of 16. So that means the graph's going to actually do something like that. And this value here is 16. And these values in the x direction are k values. And for delta being greater than 0, which is like the y value is greater than 0, you want this top part of the graph. So what you have to do is figure out what these two values are here, and then you want, so anywhere along that curve, the k values will be between those two values. So to show some values along here, anywhere along there, k will be more than this value, and less than that value. So you've just got to figure out what these two values are, and then you can write the final step with k between those two values. So to find the values of k from here, what you need to do is use the quadratic formula, and this time it's k is equal to minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac on 2a, and the b value is minus 4, so this is minus 4, so writing that down, minus 4 plus or minus the square root of b squared, so minus 4 squared minus 4 times a, which is minus 3, times by c, which is 16. And then all of that's over 2 times minus 3. So this is positive 4 plus or minus the square root of 16, and then that's positive, and then 4 times 16 is 64, 3 times 64 is 192, and then plus 192, and that's all over minus 6. So then that equals 4 plus or minus the square root of 208 all over minus 6. And then how many 4s into, I know 4 goes into it because it ends in an 8. So 4 into 208, I actually wanted to do it down here. 4 into 20 goes 5, 4 into 8 goes 2, and then 4 into 52 once, and then 3 times. So you've got 4 times 4 is 16. So 16, so 4 plus or minus, so this is the square root of 16 times 13. And then I can take that, the square root of 16 out the front, so it becomes 4 root 13 on minus 6. And dividing them all by 2, you get k is equal to 2 plus or minus 2 root 13 on minus 3. And then the two values from there are 2 minus 2 root 13 on minus 3 and 2 plus 2 root 13 on minus 3. Now, when I write my solutions, I always like to put the negative one, or the one with the smallest value on the left and the biggest one on the right. So just looking at these two numbers, this on the top here is positive, so positive divided by a negative is a negative. And looking at this on the top here, 2 times the square root of 13, the square root of 13 is about 3 point something, so 2 times 3 is 6. 2 minus 6 is minus 4, so you've got a negative on the top divided by a negative, which is a positive. That means this one's actually the smaller number. So I'm going to put that on the left down here, so 2, and then this one on the right, so 2 minus 2 root 13 on minus 3. And these are the two intercepts of this graph, if you like. So this one's the one on the right, and this one's the one on the left, and k has to be between those two values, so it has to be more than this one and less than this one. So the final step is just to write k is more than this one on the left, so 2 plus 2 root 13 on minus 3, and less than 2 minus 2 root 13 on minus 3. And that's the final answer. And k is not equal to, it's only greater than, because if k was equal to those two values, you would have these intercepts here, and that would be where delta equals 0. And when delta equals 0, you have one solution to the equation, and that would mean one point of intersection of these two parabolas. So you only want the not equal to for the inequality signs there. So these numbers, I think this one is about minus 2 point something, and the other one's positive something. So whatever the numbers are, when k is between any number between those values, and you sub them into here and sketch those graphs, you'd find that they would intersect at 2 points. And being calculator free, this kind of question you wouldn't be able to really check it. So it's really just a matter of going through the steps carefully. The key thing really is to do more steps rather than less in a long question like this, and make sure you get things right the first time. And one final thing which I've just spotted is that I left the 1 out of the 13 there. I think everything's correct now. So now that's it for this question.